One thing I've always loved about Cladun is the fact that it's simple fun. Players are tasked with navigating through a randomly generated dungeon with riches and pain lurking around every corner. This basic concept is surprisingly addicting. It's actually a big reason why so many games are utilizing roguelike elements. So, when I heard Cladun was returning with X3, I was cautiously optimistic. On one hand, it's essentially a solid formula, whereas on the other, the gaming landscape has changed a lot in the last 8 or so years between releases. With this in mind, is Cladun X3 worth experiencing, or is it better left in the past? Like a lot of Nipponichi software titles, Cladun X3 features a satirical take on the RPG hero journey. What makes it work is the fact it never feels malicious. Characters often recognize the situation as ridiculous and are happy to point it out, while also going with the flow. It's kind of like the developers are in on the joke and laughing with you. It makes for an enjoyable experience, albeit forgettable. Ultimately, the appeal of this franchise starts and ends with the gameplay loop. At its core, Cladun X3 is a very simple game. There are 6 weapons, a couple special attacks, some magic, or the option for a shield. Said weapons have a single attack loop, with most of the depth coming from understanding their unique elements. For example, the bow is obviously ranged and can be charged, though it's slow, lacks sustained damage, and is harder to hit. When used correctly, it can make short work of some of the hardest floors, but when used incorrectly, it can make the experience feel impossible. Beyond this, success comes down to understanding the magic circle system. Instead of relying entirely on level and equipment for power, Cladun X3 utilizes magic circles. Each circle is designed with a specific niche in mind, things like attack, defense, magic, certain layouts, and things of the like. Where it gets complicated is making the most of each arrangement. Every space has a predetermined use, these being attack, defense, spells, and so forth. Using a space requires an artifact matching that type. Each artifact gives a varying amount of stat points, making it important to collect a diverse range of options. Along with artifacts, magic circles require multiple allies. Said allies will offer various stats, with the most important being mana. Since every artifact costs mana to use, they need to be placed tactfully. It isn't enough to put the single best item on the board, there needs to be enough to link back to the main character. It is also important to ensure the chain is maintained in the event one of the triggers comes into play. Trust me, you don't want to lose half your stats just because you touched grass. If this isn't complicated enough, there are rare items and special titles that provide unique benefits. I won't do an extensive rundown, and instead highlight one of the strongest combos for low-level players. One of the best titles is Star 10, which triples the cost and value of an artifact. I got this on a general, which gives 90 attack for 420 mana. While it takes a bit to properly utilize this, I'm going to take it to the next level by using a Widen item. As the name implies, Widen doubles every item placed after it on the line. Now my general gives 180 attack, though it also requires 840 mana. It's actually pretty expensive. However, there is another item called Zero. This 50 mana item drops the cost of the next artifact down to 0. So now I'm paying 100 mana, since it's doubled, to use a general that is effectively 6 times more powerful than a base one, all for less than the cost of its base counterpart. Naturally, these things can add up rather quickly. It just comes down to surviving the dungeon. Outside of the narrative, there are 2 modes to play through, these being Ran-Geon and Map-Geon. Both are randomly generated dungeons, with the only difference being Map-Geon has a set rotation, so if the first 3 floors have cat people and then dragons, every run will utilize the same map and enemy types. In theory, surviving these maps is incredibly straightforward. Most enemies have 1, maybe 2 attacks, and follow predetermined rules. Exploiting weaknesses and besting their gimmicks is a must to be successful, though the biggest factor is luck. It might be a bit reductive to say, but Cladun X3 is all about gambling. Every choice has risk with an associated benefit. One of the simplest choices is picking the right gate. Options like Hell, Devil, and Villainous increase enemy levels and lower drop rate, whereas Angel gates mostly increase drop rate, but don't really impact enemy levels. The general idea is to slowly increase enemy levels until it's at the desired range, and then maximize drop rate. It's a great idea, until fate says otherwise. It might be something simple, like a floor only has bad gates, or the selected gate has a larger increase than intended. Like I said, it's a gamble. Honestly, it's hard to explain, so I included a brief montage of things going either way to give you an idea of what it's like. This aspect is what makes Cladun so engaging. It's easy to get greedy, and then more often than not, a gambit will not pay off. Naturally, this gameplay loop will not appeal to everyone. It's basically the antithesis of many games. Skill can delay the inevitable, but the biggest factor is luck. It's actually what makes the map-gen system so appealing. It decreases the number of variables, making it easier to manage risk. Once I progress, I know what to expect, and can either plan ahead or opt out in favor of an easier map. Though, at the end of the day, it all comes down to not being greedy, something that always sounds easier than it actually is. Before getting to the conclusion, I wanted to touch on one aspect unique to Cladun, the small community. Normally this wouldn't matter too much, but it can make progressing difficult. Like, imagine playing a Disgaea game, and then assume there are no guides to explain how to effectively play. It is entirely doable, it just will result in far more trial and error, something I think players should be aware of, as it requires a lot of institutional knowledge. Things like knowing about the job change function, understanding how to activate points on the map, purchasing the right things, and so forth. And these are the type of things that have a substantial impact on progression, to the point where I went from struggling to defeat the last two bosses to beating both with ease by just changing to a different magic circle. Overall, Cladun X3 is going to appeal to a very specific subset of players. It's a fun game where success comes down to cunning plays and luck. Some will hate the idea that a run can end in an instant, or sometimes failure is assured. Others will lament the extraction system, countless traps, and brief invincibility frames. If this sounds and looks like fun, I strongly suggest giving it a go. But if these aspects do not sound appealing, odds are the only thing waiting in this dungeon is misery and woe. Hey, thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to leave a like, and for more content, please subscribe.